Okay, I told you about the hope on the last video, that I do have some hopes, but I got to drag you back here to this other thing. This is really important. I'm not going to give you details today. I'm going to give you just some summaries. I need you to go look it up for yourself. Okay, time for the update. You want to get scared? You want 2012 to be the year of fear and subsequent years? Okay, but don't worry about this misrepresentation of the Mayan calendar and the end of the world. Watch what your government is doing, because that is the real problem. That is the real danger to the entire world and to you, even Americans right now. Again, no detail here. I'm going down this list. Number one, the Federal Reserve is printing $40 to $80 billion a month to buy junk mortgages and derivatives. And guess who they're trying to make liable for that, or who they have made liable for it? You. Wall Street says it's not enough. National Defense Authorization Act, provision of indefinite detention is still in there, and it's being used against legitimate law-abiding citizens who are criticizing the government. Hey, we're supposed to have the right to redress a grievance in this government, in the First Amendment, freedom of speech. The fact of the matter is, Americans are the ultimate mortal enemy of the U.S. government and what's termed as the New World Order, the banking cartels that are taking over the world. And they've already said they're doing this. This is not hidden any longer. Osama bin Laden died not later than 2002. The raid that was staged last year was a hoax. SEAL Team 6, all of them were killed in a helicopter crash in Afghanistan. Well, gee. Well, first of all, just so you know, you don't put a whole SEAL team onto one helicopter. And don't you think it's a little odd that that happened to them? Well, I'm sure they were saying, hey, did you have anything to do with that raid? No, I didn't. How about you? No, I don't know. Who are they talking about? They shut them up, okay? They killed them to shut them up, like they do so many people. All right, the Petraeus incident. General Petraeus, the CIA director, former four-star general. However you feel about that, there's this aspect of it I want to say. If he couldn't keep an oath to his wife, you think he's going to keep an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States and protect you? Now, all these guys are like this. But it shows something else, too. He was made to be an example to show you that if the CIA director is going to have a problem with this, you have no chance of fighting it. All right? So all of these wiretaps and all these things that they're doing under the NDAA, NSA provisions and all that, they're unconstitutional and they're immoral, and we need to stand up against them. National Security Agency, the Department of Homeland Security, etc., they are not for the fabled, the pretend Al-Qaeda, which is now admitted to be a CIA arm. Okay, they have been for years. Osama bin Laden was a CIA operative in Afghanistan. You know, we put Al-Qaeda in Libya and in Syria. We call them our allies. This is in the standard media. They're being forced to talk about it because we are bringing this information in the alternative media. But the fact of the matter is that Al-Qaeda is being used to scare you and to do the biddings of the NWO, of the foreign bankers, and of our illegitimate government. They will turn all of these things, the NSA, and they already are doing it, the Department of Homeland Security, TSA, all of that, they're turning on U.S. citizens now. They have been for some time. The Libyan and Syrian wars are a sham, as were Iraq and Afghanistan. All right? And we're provocateured by U.S. agents or our allies. The U.S. rebels in Syria, or the rebels in Syria, are actually U.S.-backed, as you know, but what you might not know is they are Al-Qaeda, what is termed Al-Qaeda, the Muslim Brotherhood, all of that. That's who these people are. So they're being used to scare us here into submitting to the government and giving up our freedoms, and we're using them overseas to fight wars, to start wars. Oh, we'll end up killing them too, because this is about a takeover of the world. The Syrian rebels were the ones preparing sarin gas, not the Syrian government. The Syrian government wasn't going to use gas, sarin gas or any other, on their population, or probably not even on the rebels. But there is proof now that the rebels actually had the sarin gas and were testing it. Look this stuff up. It's there. They try to hide it from you. I want you to look up on the internet, Google Eisenhower's farewell address, President Eisenhower's farewell address. You need to listen to that. It's about 15 minutes. GMO food, genetically modified food, bad for you, changes your DNA. Jet chemical sprays in the air, you know, those aren't, not all of them now. I'd say most of them are probably chemical sprays. What's in them? Aluminum dioxide and barium for some. Bad for you. Why are they doing that? I'll leave you to find out. It's not just weather modification, and that in itself would be bad enough. It's man monkeying with stuff he shouldn't be doing. Water additives like fluoride. All these things are designed to attack life. Fluoride was used by the Germans in concentration camps in World War II. It makes people docile and they don't want to stand up for themselves. It's in lithium. It's in Prozac, things like that. Okay, that PKU test you had for your kids when they were born, you were told that it was mandated by the government. It's not a law, but they make it sound like it is. And yes, it's mandated by the government, but guess what for? It's not to check for phenylketonuria. No, what it's really designed to do is to provide a DNA database for conducting biochemical weapons systems research. In other words, it's designed to kill and maim certain distinctive DNA targets. What am I saying? Genocide. Depends on who they want. If you haven't heard of the Bohemian Grove, look it up on Google. It's there. There's a lot of information about it. No, it's not conspiracy theory, and no, it's not a gentleman's club. They cremate an infant male doll. Grown men cremating a doll in front of this god Molech, this big owl. This is about throwing their conscience away so that they can do anything they want and not feel bad about it. This is dangerous. Look up Club of Rome, CFR, PNAC, Project for a New American Century, the MIAC Report, NDAA, the Expatriation Act, the John Warner National Defense Act, Agenda 21, Codex Alimentarius. And then look at the executive orders, both the ones that are done in the open and the ones in secret. Those would be hard to find, but you can get information on them. These are designed to administratively control us outside of law. They want to control the internet. They want to remove you from society without warrant or trial. NSA wiretaps all correspondence and communication without warrant. Signing statements are used to accept or reject law written by Congress. Ladies and gentlemen, this is fascist dictatorship. Fascism, you know, the mingling of corporations and government to control you. This is treason, and it's being committed by our highest officials. Do you know what a false flag is? Look it up. Do you know about Building 7 that collapsed on 9/11? Not just the trade centers. Building 7, watch that. Haven't heard about it? You need to look it up. I said 10 years ago that there were 50 suitcase nukes that were missing. President Bush denied that and said, no, we know where they are. Well, what he meant is they know where they are. They're lost. All right? Actually, they know who they gave them to. This is now confirmed. They are worrying about it. Of course, now they got to put you in fear so that you'll ask the government to protect you even more. But these will be used, I guarantee you. They will be used, one or two of them or more, to further allow the government to subject us to tyranny after they set a couple of these off. And they will control who does it. They will do that. Congress, it's abdicating its constitutional responsibilities to the executive branch. They basically support tyranny, and you have no representative government. It is gone. We are not a Republican form of government anymore. And what does that mean? Not Republican Party. It means a representative form of government, and that it is not two wolves and a sheep deciding who's for dinner. Okay? You have protections and representation. We are now a fascist dictatorship. There are 50 million people on food stamps right now, and they plan on having 100 million in 4 years. Probably less. Do not believe government lies about the recovery or that jobs are improving. Nothing like that is happening. 9/11 was permitted, if not planned and conducted by intelligence assets from the United States, Britain, and Israel. Back many years ago, I went to the U.S. Army counterterrorism school. I want you to understand something. Terrorism is a definition, it's not an activity. And there are many, many definitions, so many that most Americans would be considered terrorists under those definitions. Civilian detention facilities and army manuals exist to imprison political dissenters who call for their God-given rights that the Constitution is designed to protect. Those people are the target of all these preparations. I said 20 years ago that one of the definitions of a terrorist, I went through the schooling, I know, is a 2-week supply, a gun, and if you own a business. If you meet those 3 criteria, this is just one definition, you are by definition of a terrorist, okay? You know how many people fall under that? That is only one definition. There are scores of others, all right? So merely the government saying somebody's a terrorist doesn't mean it is true. Our southern border is nearly wide open. Why isn't anybody going to prison or being called down, impeached, charged, thrown in jail for Fast and Furious? This wasn't just, guns slipping into Mexico. This was the government sending thousands of weapons to the cartels there, all right, for reasons you need to find out. But it proves government corruption and intent. These are treasonous things that are happening by our administration, by the executive branch. You going to get your driver's license now, you have to prove you're a citizen. Illegal aliens don't. Even if you've had a license for 40 or 50 years, and remember when you first went in there, you had to take your birth certificate? Too bad, you got to bring it back again, along with mail, bills, anything to prove that you live where you say you live. So you're having to prove who you are now. They're also using biometrics. Some of your new photographs and things like that are a little different than they used to be. All of these systems were tested in Afghanistan and Iraq to prepare for use in the United States. Now you're being subjected to this. The destruction of the U.S. idea of freedom and liberty is nearly complete. The destruction of the population is next. Our time is up. You need to get ready. I've already talked about instigating race wars. We're starting to see a lot of this in the media, and it's subtle, but it's there. And people that are going to start standing up for their rights, they'll be called terrorists, just because they say no. We're in a lot of trouble. Finally, I want you to go back onto Google, and I want you to search for Ron Paul's farewell address to Congress. You can type it in just like that, Ron Paul's farewell address to Congress. He talks about what's happening. All right, foreign banks have declared that they have conquered us, and all the legal notices are out there. It's in the print media, it's in the television media, it's all over. In other words, they're saying, you're done. We've conquered you. They even admit they've done this. And if we don't stand up and say no, guess what? They have their moral reason for doing more to you than they've done so far. They took us by fraud and deceit, and the current federal government is controlled by them and is illegitimate. Ron Paul explains we must remove ourselves from this fraudulent corporate entity called the United States federal government and reconstitute a proper Republican government. Again, I'm not talking about the Republican Party. Republican meaning representation and a Bill of Rights. Our Bill of Rights. It's the best in the world, based on the Declaration of Independence. These are wonderful documents. Not perfect, but the best we've had. I've mentioned in past videos that the label on the bottle is not the same as the contents. The contents have been changed. We're still called the United States of America. We are not a free country. We are not the bastion of liberty. We are the evil empire. Now, the banksters openly admit that they've got control of this. All right, that's all for now. Thanks for listening.